Tinder is like Zillow for people. And that's a really bad thing because people are not objects. We've talked about Tinder recently and how generally awful it is and how men in particular shouldn't use it, but really nobody should use it. Here's more evidence to support that claim. TechCrunch reports, Tinder is leaning into dating apps' reputation for superficiality with the launch of a new feature that lets paid subscribers add their height preferences to their profiles. After a Reddit user posted a photo of the new height setting in the Tinder app, a company spokesperson confirmed to TechCrunch that the discovery setting has been launched as a global test. So they're adding a height preference. And this is a feature for women, obviously. I mean, men can use it too, I guess, but women are the ones concerned about height. I've never met a man who cares about a woman's height, right? I mean, if she's freakishly tall or something, like if she's taller than me, you know, then that might be an issue for some guys. But generally, height is not something that men are thinking about with respect to women. So this is a feature for women to filter out, or at least get recommendations that filter out short guys. And as I said, this is just more evidence for why you shouldn't be on the dating apps in the first place. We've already talked about how the deck is stacked against men on the dating apps. There are fewer women, and the women get on average much, much, much more attention than men get. So it's stacked against men, but really for both men and women, the whole thing is so dehumanizing. It really is. Doesn't have to be, right? You can have dating websites, matchmaking type services and so on, and dating websites that aren't dehumanizing, that are actually trying to help people who are serious adults looking for serious relationships find other people who are serious adults or looking for serious relationships and have the same kinds of values. You know, those kinds of sites used to exist. Maybe they still do. I don't know. But that's not Tinder, because Tinder treats you like an object. And when I hear about Tinder, it reminds me, every time I hear something about Tinder or some new update, it reminds me, the way people talk about it, it reminds me of something like Zillow, you know, the real estate website where you can go and find houses that you are for sale if you're looking to buy a house. And, you know, I have a lot of experience. I have no experience on Tinder. I have a lot of experience with Zillow because we've purchased a lot of houses. One at a time. I'm not saying we only own one house. I'm saying we've moved a lot. So we've had to, one at a time, we've bought houses and sold them. Unfortunately. So we've switched houses many times. So anyway, on Zillow, you can narrow down your search with like this extensive list of specifications. And there are specifications that will probably weed out houses that you would have otherwise liked, right? Because it's kind of arbitrary. Like you might put, when you're looking for a house, you might put that you want to see houses with 3+ bedrooms. And so it's only going to show you that. But there might be a house with 2 bedrooms and a bonus room or some other kind of room that you could make into a bedroom that has all the other things you're looking for, and it's an affordable price, and that you would have wanted to buy, but you're not going to see it because it's only giving you the specifications that you asked for. And this is what you do when you're looking to buy an object. You get really specific and choosy. I think everyone is like this. And it's this weird thing where even if you're kind of desperate for a house, I mean, I've been in this situation too, kind of desperate for a house, you need to buy a house, even if maybe, you know, you're not a millionaire, you don't have a lot of money, so it's not like you have dozens and dozens of options to choose from. You're kind of in you think in a sort of a beggars can't be choosers situation. You still become picky about weird things because online shopping, even online house shopping, just has that effect. And you scroll through all the houses, you see one that you kind of like, you swipe through the pictures, right? And and then you see something like you don't like the way the staircase looks, or you don't like the countertops or something like that, and then you just move on to the next house. And like I said, you can get this way about house shopping on Zillow, even if you're kind of desperate for a house, even if you don't have a lot of money. This is just how online shopping. This is what it does to you, right? This is how it is when you got so many options, and you can be so specific and so picky, including about things that don't actually matter that much, or things that you could change about the house and wouldn't cost you much to do it. Still, that's that's how we're programmed to be when we're shopping for something online. And it's one thing when your mind works this way when you're looking for an object, like a house or a car or, I don't know, fishing lures. I just bought a bunch of new fishing lures, so I'm thinking about that. But so you can do that with objects. The problem is that dating apps seem to make you look at people that way. Okay, Tinder is like Zillow for people, right? Or Amazon for people. And that's a really bad thing because people are not objects, they're people. And you're going to do the same thing you do with Zillow, where you put in your physical specifications that you want, and you're almost definitely weeding out people who you could have had a very meaningful relationship with. You could have had a permanent, you could have married them. But because maybe they didn't fit one little specification that you had, but they got everything else you could possibly want in a person. And that other thing really doesn't matter that much. But you're not even going to see that person because you've weeded them out. And so it's just bad. It's like, this is not how human relationships work. It can't work this way at scale. It never has. There's no precedent for it. There's no analog to this in human history. This is not how people, it is inherently dehumanizing and objectifying for both men and women. And on top of that, the specifications aren't even evenly applied. Because if you're going to allow women to narrow down a search based on height, then as many people have pointed out, and I agree, you should allow men to narrow specifications based on what is important to them physically, which would be weight. Fair is fair. Height to women is like weight to men. Only the weight bias is a lot more justified because, for one thing, weight is a choice. Like if you're overweight, I don't care what you say, you are choosing that. You don't have to be. You could eat less and lose weight. That's the laws of physics. It will happen. So it's a choice. And also, if someone is severely overweight, it does actually reflect poorly on their character. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean they're irredeemable, certainly. We all have flaws. I'm not saying that, but it is a character flaw. I mean, it's you're wearing your character flaw, and that's an unfortunate thing about gluttony, is that you wear your character flaw on you as in the form of body fat so people can see it. There are plenty of character flaws a person might have that are just as bad, but you don't wear it. You don't sort of advertise it publicly so people don't see it. But even so, it is a character flaw. It is a choice. And so sort of having a bias against women who are severely overweight is much more reasonable than having a bias against men who are short, because a man's height is not a choice. It doesn't reflect his character at all. And so if you're going to allow that, if you're going to allow that kind of bias, that kind of specificity, that kind of pickiness, right? If you're going to allow those specifications on the site, then you should also allow it for weight. And yet, this Tinder doesn't do that, and I don't think any site does that. Because if they did, that would be seen as some sort of attack on women. That would be seen as then we'd have this whole thing about body positivity. Even though, again, it's a lot more important. Body positivity is mostly a nonsense concept because it's applied so often to things that are actually flaws that are changeable. And so you shouldn't be positive about them. You should try to change them. But if body positivity could be legitimately applied to anything, it'd be something like height. If you're a short guy, you should just be positive about it. And this is the body God gave you. You can't change it. So that's an area where that should actually apply, but we don't apply it to that. Anytime someone talks about body positivity, they're never talking about height. They're always talking about something like weight, something that can be changed. So it's all bad all the way in conclusion. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.